On Mother's Day, my daughter tried to give me the gift she made in school, a little paper flower glued onto a folded card. Before she could even reach me, my aunt stepped between us, took it from her hand, and said, "That's not for her. Real moms have husbands." I stood there in the middle of my uncle's living room while everyone else smiled, sipped sweet tea, and passed around bouquets of roses. My cousin Sienna was already posting group photos with the caption, "Three generations of strong women." I wasn't in a single one. I wasn't even offered a flower. My daughter, Mia, looked up at me, confused and crushed. Her hand was empty. Her little mouth trembled as she whispered, "But I made it for you." I knelt down to hug her, but someone pulled her away. They were laughing again, moving on like nothing had happened. My name is Alara. I'm a mother. I'm also a veteran, and according to my family, I don't count. But just when I thought I couldn't feel any smaller, the front door opened. A woman in uniform walked in, looked straight at me and said, "She's the reason I'm alive." That was the moment everything changed. My name is Alara Wynn. I'm 32 years old, a single mother, and a veteran of the United States Army. I've been back in Georgia for almost a year now. Most days I'm juggling a job at a logistics company during the week and a night shift at a diner on the weekends. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. I rent a small 2-bedroom apartment where the walls are thin and the water takes forever to heat up. But my daughter, Mia, laughs there. That's all I need. Mia is 6 years old and too smart for her own good. She talks with her hands and asks questions about everything. She has this wide, earnest smile that makes strangers in grocery store lines stop and talk to her. She likes pancakes with strawberries on top and carries a purple backpack covered in dinosaur stickers. She calls me her super mom, though I don't feel like one most days. I do my best, and I pray that's enough. This Mother's Day, I thought maybe things would be different. It was the first one since I came home from my last deployment, the first one since my mom passed. My Aunt Clara decided to host a family get-together at her place, just outside of Savannah. She said it was important to be together. Her exact words were, "We need to show the kids what a real family looks like." The day was bright, the kind that makes you believe summer's already arrived. Aunt Clara's backyard was decorated with folding chairs, floral centerpieces, and a chalkboard sign that read, "Honoring Our Mothers." She always liked to put on a show. I could smell grilled corn and smoked ribs coming off the patio. My Uncle Matt was flipping burgers and waving everyone over with a spatula in one hand and a beer in the other. He always had a gentle kindness about him, but he let Clara run the show. Inside, the house looked like something out of a Pinterest board. Mason jars, homemade pies, a photo wall covered with baby pictures of all the moms and their children. I noticed none of the pictures included Mia or me. I brushed it off, told myself maybe it was an oversight, maybe they just didn't have a recent one. Sienna was already there with her husband, Mark, and their twin boys. She wore a pink maxi dress and heels like she was headed to a wedding. She called out to me from across the kitchen, "You clean up nice, Alara," and gave me a quick smile that didn't reach her eyes. I thanked her, even though it felt like a jab. Mia tugged at my hand. "Can I give you your present now?" "Not yet, baby," I said. "Let's wait until everyone's here." She nodded and clutched her backpack to her chest like it held gold. I knew what was inside, a construction paper card she'd worked on all week at school. It had a drawing of the two of us standing under a tree and a paper flower she'd made from coffee filters and glitter glue. She'd shown it to me once by accident and begged me to forget what I saw so it could be a surprise. I promised her I would. When the last of the family arrived, Aunt Clara clapped her hands and told everyone to gather around. It was time for the Mother's Day tributes, she said. "Let's show our appreciation to the women who do it right," she added, loud enough that I felt it hit me like a slap. One by one, the husbands and kids handed out flowers to their wives and mothers. There were hugs and pictures and speeches. Clara got roses from Uncle Matt. Sienna received lilies from Mark and the boys. My cousin Tara was handed a daisy bouquet with a handmade note. I stood there, smiling, nodding, trying to disappear. Mia leaned into my side and whispered, "Is it my turn now?" Her voice was small, hopeful. She reached into her bag and pulled out the card, the paper flower trembling slightly in her hand. That's when Clara stepped forward. She didn't look at me. She looked at Mia and said, "Sweetheart, no. That's not for her. That's for real moms." Mia froze. Her little hand tightened around the card. My heart sank. Sienna laughed, not loudly, but enough. Maybe next year if you find a man. The words burned in my ears. I looked down at Mia, and she looked up at me, confused, hurt. She turned her face away as if she'd done something wrong. I knelt beside her, trying to reach her, to hold her, but Clara had already taken the card from her hand and set it on the kitchen counter like it was garbage. That was the moment everything started to unravel. Mia stood still, her tiny shoulders slumped forward, her hands now empty. The card she had worked so hard on was left on the counter next to a half-eaten fruit tray. I watched her stare at it like it had turned into something unfamiliar. I crouched beside her again and whispered, "That was beautiful, sweetheart. You made that for me, right?" She nodded slowly, still looking at the floor. I tried to reach for her, but she stepped back, confused, embarrassed, hurt in the way only children can be, purely and completely. Behind me, Aunt Clara clinked her glass. "Let's get a picture with all the moms," she said. "You know, the real ones." She smiled like it was a joke, but the tone in her voice made it clear she meant it. I looked around. No one spoke up. Not my uncle, not Sienna, not Tara. Even Uncle Matt, who always seemed to find the right words, stayed quiet. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Sienna stood next to her husband, Mark, laughing softly as she adjusted her necklace. "I mean, I get it. Not everyone's cut out for the whole family thing." She looked directly at me. "Takes more than just having a kid." I wanted to respond. I wanted to scream. Instead, I held Mia's hand and walked her outside, away from the cameras and the whispers and the fake smiles. She didn't say anything. She just kept her head down, dragging her feet along the grass until we found a quiet spot beneath the oak tree at the edge of the yard, the same tree I used to climb as a kid when I felt like I didn't belong. I hadn't been back here in years, but my legs carried me there like they remembered the way. Mia sat in my lap, her fingers curled around the hem of my dress. "Why didn't they let me give it to you?" she asked. I held her tighter. "Because some people don't understand what a real mom is," I said. "But I do. And so do you." She looked up at me, her eyes shiny with tears. "You're my real mom." That should have been enough. It was enough. But it still hurt. I thought about my own mother, Diana. She would have shut Clara down before the words even left her mouth. She never cared about appearances or what people thought. She raised me and my brother on her own after my dad left, and she never let anyone call her less than whole. She had fire in her, the kind that lit up a room and burned anyone who tried to diminish her. I wondered what she would say now if she were here. I wished I had her voice in that moment. The air outside felt heavy. Laughter and camera shutters echoed from the house behind us. It was like we had been erased from the celebration entirely. Mia kept asking if we were going to stay for cake. I told her we'd wait a little longer, maybe just until the pictures were over. I didn't want her to leave feeling like this. I didn't want this to be what she remembered about Mother's Day. Back inside, Clara handed out gift bags. Sienna was opening hers, squealing over a scented candle and some kind of expensive body lotion. Tara was comparing flower arrangements with the others, asking which color roses matched her living room. I stepped through the back door with Mia beside me, holding my head high even though my chest felt like it was caving in. I was going to say thank you and quietly take Mia home. I had no intention of giving them the satisfaction of seeing me break. But just as I reached for the gift Mia had made, Clara turned to block me again. "Please don't make a scene," she said, voice low but sharp. "This day isn't about you." I stared at her, stunned. "I'm a mother," I said. "That makes it about me, too." Sienna stepped in, smirking. "You're not a wife, that's the difference." Mark put a hand on her arm, telling her to ease up, but the damage was already done. I didn't speak again. I picked up the card and the paper flower, even though the petals were crumpled now. I told Mia to grab her backpack, and we headed for the front door. As I opened it, I felt a wave of shame and fury crash through me. Not because of what they said, but because I had let them say it without fighting back. I had stood there, silent, when I should have defended what Mia and I are, real, full, and whole, even if we don't fit into their mold. I was one step from the porch when a car pulled up, and that was when everything began to change. The front door creaked open as I stepped onto the porch with Mia's hand in mine. My heels hit the wood with a weight I hadn't felt earlier. I wanted to get her into the car, buckle her in, drive back to our little apartment, and pretend this day had never happened. I wanted to tell her stories until she smiled again. But more than anything, I wanted to stop feeling like I had done something wrong by simply being her mother. I took a deep breath and looked out across the driveway. That's when a dark blue sedan pulled up. I didn't recognize the car. It wasn't one of the families. It rolled in slowly, not rushing, like the person behind the wheel knew exactly where they were and exactly who they had come to see. The engine cut. The driver's side door opened and a woman stepped out. She was tall and steady, wearing a formal army dress uniform. The ribbons on her chest caught the sunlight. Her dark hair was buzzed close to the scalp. She looked to be in her late 20s. Her eyes scanned the yard until they landed on me. She didn't smile. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight toward us. I instinctively stepped in front of Mia, unsure of what was happening. I wasn't afraid, just startled. The woman stopped a few feet away and came to attention. Her voice was clear, strong, and unwavering. "Sergeant Wynne?" I nodded slowly. She raised her hand in a crisp salute. "Private First Class Amanda Reyes. You pulled me out of that convoy on Highway 4 in Kabul. I've been trying to find you for months. Your commanding officer finally gave me a way to reach you." I felt the breath leave my body. I hadn't heard that name in nearly 2 years. I remembered the day clearly now. An ambush, chaos, smoke. I had dragged a young woman from a burning vehicle while bullets snapped through the air. I never saw her again. Amanda dropped the salute and stepped forward. "I heard you were back in Georgia. I didn't know if today was a good day, but when I saw your name on the guest list through a mutual contact, I had to come. I needed to say thank you. You didn't just save my life. You gave me a second chance." Mia peeked out from behind me. Amanda noticed and smiled for the first time. She crouched down to eye level and said, "You've got one strong mom, kiddo. Stronger than anyone I've ever met." Mia didn't say anything at first. She looked at me, then back at Amanda. "They said she's not a real mom." Amanda stood, squared her shoulders, and turned toward the house. She wasn't loud, but her voice carried. "She is more of a mother than anyone in that room." That was the moment everything shifted. I could see faces through the windows now. Aunt Clara frozen at the kitchen sink. Sienna with her arms crossed, no longer smirking. A few cousins stepping back from the door as if uncertain whether to come out or stay hidden. Amanda looked back at me. "They don't know what you've done, what you've carried. That convoy was full of people. Only 3 of us made it. You dragged me out with a dislocated shoulder and shrapnel in your leg. I thought I was going to die. You told me I wasn't. You stayed with me until medics arrived. That day made me believe in something again, in people again." I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. Mia held onto my dress, watching me closely. Amanda placed something in my hand, a folded piece of paper, her contact information, and a note. "You saved me. If you ever need anything, I will show up." She nodded once, then turned and walked back to her car. I stood there holding Mia, stunned by the weight of what had just happened. For the first time that day, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel ashamed. I felt seen. Mia pulled on my arm. "Can we go back inside now?" I looked at her, surprised. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I want to show them my card." I took her hand, and together we stepped back through the front door. When Mia and I stepped back into the house, the noise had shifted. It wasn't loud anymore. The chatter had softened, like the energy had drained from the room. Everyone had seen Amanda. Everyone had heard what she said. For the first time all afternoon, no one looked directly at me. I held Mia's hand and walked to the kitchen where her card still sat. The flower edges crumpled and the glitter smudged. She picked it up carefully, like it was still new, and looked at me. I nodded. "Go ahead," I said. She turned to face the room. Her voice was small but steady. "This is for my mom. She's a real mom. She's my favorite person in the whole world." Mia walked over and handed it to me like it was something sacred. Her little fingers brushed mine, and she stood proudly in front of me. I could feel the eyes on us, Sienna's, Clara's, all of them, but I didn't look at them. I only looked at Mia. I knelt down to her level. "I love it. It's perfect. And I love you." "I knew you would cry," she whispered. She was right. Behind me, chairs shifted. Someone cleared their throat. Tara mumbled something about needing a drink. Aunt Clara finally spoke. That woman didn't need to come here and embarrass everyone. I turned. She didn't embarrass anyone. She told the truth. Sienna stepped forward, arms still crossed, but her expression had changed. You were really in the army? I stared at her. Yes. I was deployed for 8 years. I've spent Mother's Days in tents, in bases, in sandstorms. I've held soldiers as they bled. I've written letters to mothers who never got to hold their kids again. And while I was doing that, I was missing Mia's first words, her first steps, her birthdays. I've carried the guilt of that every day. So when you tell me I'm not a real mom because I don't wear a ring, I want you to understand what you're saying. Because I gave everything I had to keep her safe. That's what mothers do. The room was silent. Uncle Matt stepped forward slowly. Alara, he said, voice quiet. I didn't know all of that. I should have asked. I should have said something earlier. You didn't have to know everything, I said. You just had to treat me like I mattered. Like Mia mattered. Tara looked down. Sienna shifted her weight and muttered, I didn't mean it like that. But the words had no power. She knew it. I knew it. Aunt Clara tried again. You're right. We should have handled today better. I stood. It's not just today. It's every time I've come to one of these and been treated like I don't belong, like I made the wrong choice by not living your version of a family. Mia tugged at my hand. Mom, can we go home? I nodded and picked up the card she made, still holding it tight like it might fall apart again. But this time, it felt stronger in my hand. I turned one last time before walking out. I don't need flowers from people who don't see me. I just need my daughter. She's the only one who matters. We walked out the same front door we had almost left through before Amanda arrived, but something had changed. This time, I wasn't walking away in shame. I was walking away with my head up, with Mia at my side, with the truth spoken out loud and not buried under politeness or silence. When we got into the car, Mia asked if we could stop for ice cream. I said yes, of course we could. We rolled the windows down and I let her pick the music. She chose something cheerful and off-key, something that made her laugh so hard her whole face lit up. At a red light, I looked over at her. She was staring at the paper flower, holding it in her lap like a trophy. Did you have a good Mother's Day? She asked. I smiled. I did. It turned out better than I expected. Because in that moment, I realized something important. I didn't need my family to validate who I was. I didn't need their approval or their traditions or their limited definitions. All I needed was one child who knew exactly who her mother was. And I had her. We got home just before sunset. The light coming through the blinds painted long stripes across the living room floor. Mia kicked off her shoes and headed straight for her crayons, humming to herself like the weight of the day had already rolled off her shoulders. She was already moving forward. That's one of the things I admire most about her. She doesn't carry bitterness. She doesn't hold on to shame that isn't hers. I sat on the couch, card still in my hand. I read it again, even though I already knew every word. She'd written in crooked, careful letters, "You are my real mom. You are my brave mom. You are my favorite." There was glitter in the folds. Some of it had rubbed onto my dress and I didn't brush it off. I thought about what Amanda said, about how I gave her a second chance. I had never seen it that way. I never saw myself as heroic or remarkable. Most of the time, I was just trying to survive, trying to be present, trying to prove, even to myself, that I could do this alone. But today, someone reminded me that I had already done more than enough. Someone who didn't owe me anything showed up and spoke the truth when no one else would. That meant more than any bouquet ever could. I didn't hear from Clara or Sienna for a while after that day. Eventually, I got a group text from Tara with a half-hearted apology from the family, something about emotions running high and misunderstandings. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need to explain myself anymore. I had already spoken my truth. What they did with it was their choice. Mia brought her drawing over and climbed into my lap. She had drawn us again, this time in front of our apartment building, holding hands under a rainbow. She had added Amanda, too, standing nearby with her uniform and a big smile. "Do you think she'll come back one day?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. But what she said today, that's going to stay with me forever. I tucked the card she made into the back of my journal. It wasn't just a paper flower anymore. It was a reminder that I didn't need a ceremony to be valid. I didn't need applause or staged photos or approval from people who never tried to understand me. I needed one voice, one moment of truth, and the quiet certainty of my daughter's love. That night, Mia fell asleep in my bed, curled up next to me with her arms wrapped around my arm like she was afraid I might leave. I stayed still, listening to her breathing, feeling the slow, steady rhythm of a life I was building one small moment at a time. Motherhood doesn't always look like what people expect. It doesn't always come wrapped in rings or framed in photo albums. Sometimes it shows up in night shifts, in letters you never send, in bruises you hide, in the way you teach your child to speak with kindness when the world is anything but kind. Being a mother means showing up, and I have never stopped showing up. So if anyone ever asks me again if I'm a real mom, I'll remember the way Mia held that card. I'll remember Amanda's voice. I'll remember the silence in that house when the truth landed so loud that no one could hide from it. And I'll answer without hesitation. Yes, I am. If this story moved you, if it made you think about what motherhood truly means, then I hope you'll take a moment to reflect on the mothers in your life. The loud ones, the quiet ones, the ones who show up in ways that don't always fit the mold. And if you're a mom who's ever felt invisible, unheard, or unrecognized, I want you to hear this. You matter. Your love matters. Your story matters. If this video spoke to you, please like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it and leave a comment below. I would love to hear your story too. Whether you're a mom, a daughter, or just someone who believes in giving people their flowers while they're here, your voice is welcome here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more true, emotional stories like this one. There's strength in being seen, and this space is here to remind you, you are never alone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.